Hi everyone, how are you? Welcome to week 2. We are going to cover a few different things this week. First up, we're going to talk about the age of chivalry and knighthood. And then the second focus that we have this week is on the medieval church and the Crusades. And then third and finally, we are going to talk about the development of England this week. So 3 different topics, 3 different assignments. You will notice that I did email you these assignments completely separately this week. So my period 4 got a set, my period 8 got a set, and my period 9 got a set. So that way there was no confusion at all over who was supposed to be doing what work. And you all just have that work you're supposed to do in the email that you received. So we are going to jump right in today. Hope you're all, doing safe and well at home. I miss you guys so much. And I wish we were in a classroom doing this, but as we are not, I am going to share my screen here for you. Head on over to this PowerPoint. There we go. Minimize myself and start this slideshow. So if you're ready, let's jump right in. This is day 4, video 4, section 4 of our home distance learning, but it is section 3 of the PowerPoint. So we're just going to focus on it being the age of chivalry. Let's talk about chivalry. So first, to start, we learned over time that soldiers mounted on horseback were very valuable in combat. It became clear that people riding up higher on horses could have that height advantage and could be much faster. They used leather saddles and stirrups to stabilize their riding to make sure they wouldn't fall off of the horses. And we saw the feudal system at work here because feudal lords would build these private armies of knights in order to defend their territories. They needed to make sure that if they were ever attacked, they had an army to defend them. In return for being willing to defend their territories, knights received fiefs. Those are the land that is given, estates that are given to vassals. And the wealth from those fiefs allowed knights to pay for the very expensive weapons and armor. So this all is tied into the feudal system. Chivalry specifically is the code of the knights. It was a complex set of ideals, of rules that knights were expected to follow in order to uphold their knighthood, similar to how the samurai followed the code of Bushido, but a little less intense. So in the feudal system, the ideal knight was loyal, brave, and courteous. They were kind, they were respectful. The sons of nobles, the wealthy, began training for knighthood at a very early age. We're talking age 6 or 7, they'd be sent to first live with the knight and to learn the trade at that early age. Those young knights, once they hit 13, 14, 15, they would begin to gain experience in fighting at either local wars or at tournaments. Now, a tournament wasn't a real battle. It was a chivalrous, a friendly, respectful competition or a mock battle. So if you have heard about things like jousting, when you think of medieval times, you think of the knights on horseback going at each other, holding those long wooden sticks. They're called lances. That would be a jousting battle, a jousting tournament, and the knights would go at each other with those lances. And again, not to actually hurt the other person, but just as part of competition. Now, people, of course, did get hurt from time to time, but this was all done in a friendly spirit. So it was chivalrous. We see themes of medieval literature. A lot of literature comes from this time that does not show how brutal knighthood and this feudal warfare was. Instead of showing this brutality, it glorifies it. It makes you think that it would be wonderful to be a knight in shining armor or to be rescued by a knight in shining armor. It glorified it, put those ideas of knighthood and chivalry on a ladder on a step stool and made it look like something everybody wanted to attain, when that was not always the case. We also see epic poems recount a hero's deeds. We see their adventures in those poems, those things being very popular in literature. We also, in this time, see people known as troubadours. Troubadours were traveling poet musicians who traveled between the castles and the courts of Europe to entertain the nobles, the wealthy who lived there. And finally, we're going to quickly talk about the women's role in feudal society. Women did play a very vital role. However, feudal society accepted the belief that women were inferior to men. That was what was believed at the time. Noble women did have some power, but generally their lives were fairly limited. Peasant women performed endless labor, both at home and in the fields. Noble women didn't have that labor to perform, but peasant women did. Females in peasant families were very often incredibly poor and powerless to change what their lives looked like. However, as I said, female economic contribution, what they were able to give their families in terms of their ability to work as hard as they did, was key for their survival, for all of peasant survival, also for noble survival. Society very much relied upon the work that women were doing, even if they were not always recognized for that work. That brings us to the end of this first part of the week, the first week's video. The second week's video, the first video of the second week. You are all going to be doing the same reading. You are going to be doing a reading about the age of chivalry, but you are doing different questions. So make sure that when you take a minute to look at the work you have to do, CCP, Honors, and Advanced are all doing different questions in the reading. If you have any questions, please let me know, and we will talk soon.